Good morning, everyone. I'm Ruth Gilbert. I'm the Group Education Director for Manor Property. And you might be wondering, why a property company at the TechFest? Well, I'm here to explain and to showcase to you a range of free resources, and I stress free, that we've put together through lockdown and indeed some other exciting things coming down the pipeline in terms of technology and innovation. Joe, if we can move to the next slide. So, Manor Property Group, third generation family business based in Yorkshire. The current family owner really has reached a stage where he wants to go beyond buildings and create a legacy to the community and a legacy to the UK. Much of this is about recognizing his own children have had a certain amount of privilege, and I think seeing a lot of the challenges in East Yorkshire, for example, there's very high youth unemployment, but seeing obviously all of this exacerbated with the pandemic and the post-Brexit world that we now face. The thinking here is that the Akrell family behind Manor will fund 160 of these work environments. And I stress that this is not a school, it's not a college. It's not designed to compete in any way. This is a resource to schools, to colleges, to communities, to careers leaders and educators, to bring to life the world of work. Joe, if we can move to the next slide, please. So I know I'm preaching to the converted here in recognising the skill shortages in the UK, the polarised economy, which has only got worse, of course, because of the pandemic. But I think also recognising that while schools and colleges have the legislative duty for careers education, I think we all know, and I know as a former principal and chief executive of Further and Higher Education College, that it's very difficult to summon up the resource to really showcase a lot of new areas of work, a lot of skills areas that aren't part of the national curriculum, whether it's engineering or health or technology. These are practical challenges. How do you bring this to life for young people? How do you contextualize it in the curriculum? Joe, if you can click twice to the next slide. Next one. So what are we doing? Well, Manor has spent a bit of time gathering together a whole range of resources in all of the different disciplines of education. We are not trying to promote A-levels over T-levels or apprenticeships over university. It's all about making sure that people make informed choices. And again, appreciating the impartiality of the careers education, providing a medium where we can support that work with practical engagement of employers. In January, Manor surveyed CDI members, and 200 CDI experts got involved and gave us very clear feedback. In fact, 97% said, we need help with employer engagement. We need help with employer projects. We need help with industry placements. And we need help with showcasing just what industries are about, dispelling myths. So the construction industry not being all bricklaying, actually being far more about project management and using virtual reality to do design work, for example. So what we're trying to do here is to create a medium, a facility that will support that career-led education, providing tools, technology for perhaps having an online virtual tour of a company in Switzerland, perhaps having a Q&A streamed into all regional schools with some local interaction, maybe using augmented reality to experience what eye surgery looks like and all the different careers that are involved in the healthcare industry beyond the traditional what we know. Joe, if we can move on. I've got a series of just a few slides now, which, Joe, if you don't mind just flipping through, just to bring to life this modern work environment. This is able to accommodate 150 to 200 people a day, lots of breakout spaces, lots of flexible areas, walls that revolve, a large conference facility, mobile tablets, one-to-one and workshop rooms. The idea is that Manor will not only build these buildings, buy the land, make them happen. We can pause there, Joe. But we'll also make sure that we revenue fund the first pioneers, the pilots over the next 2 years, so that we can demonstrate their impact. And we haven't come up with this idea ourselves. We've seen this internationally. There are centres like this in Finland, Norway, Canada, Australia. And unfortunately, they have been somewhat delayed by the pandemic, by the lockdowns. We do have planning in progress. We have plans in East Riding of Yorkshire, in Rotherham, and 4 across the West Midlands. And we are in discussion with Southampton, Durham, Cambridgeshire, Peterborough, and Poole at this point in time. The idea is to complement, not to compete with what's there, to provide additional resource that supports the great work that goes on within schools, colleges, job centres, and other community venues and private providers. So this is an add-on, and it will be designed to look at what's already in existence and fill the gaps. So lockdown. We were sitting on our hands. We couldn't get any shovel in the ground. So we put our mind to a different sort of technology and a different sort of smart tool, and developed the Qdos Careers app. You've got the QR codes on the screen at the moment. Available on all devices, Android, Apple, and indeed with a website as well. We consulted with the head teachers, the schools, SEN groups. We consulted with careers leaders, and also with a vast range of local authorities within the West Midlands and Rotherham areas to say what would be most helpful right now. And this was last May, when we knew 800,000 young people would be making life-changing choices in the summer about whether to stay in education, whether or not they were going to university, what their next steps might be. Perhaps they'd lost that place at work, or were nervous about going to work after all the changes, and indeed with rising unemployment. So we turned our minds to really creating a very practical resource hub. Think of this as the Amazon or the eBay of careers education, but free. So we collated together, myself and my team, a whole range of resources from all the national impartial sources. Everything from things like the Buzz Quiz that I'm sure you know, and short, sharp tools for assessing likes, dislikes, career orientation, education options, but also information from the National Career Service. We got access to their database, and we linked it to labour market information. I'll come back to that in a moment. And we ended up with 5 areas: news and blogs, so we could showcase things like the virtual university events going on last summer, and more recently with National Careers Week. And we're very happy to showcase and highlight any events you might be running, any resources that you wish to promote out there to help people, in fact, of all ages. But certainly when we started, this was about young people. Loads of career tools, whether you know what you want to do or not. And then looking at education routes, and the how-to is about the world of work. Very importantly, this tool does not collate any personal data, and it allows you to download and save information to your own device. So there's nothing in this about tracking individuals. It's perfectly safe, and very much just designed to be exactly that, the free resource hub for speeding up access. And I know as a parent, luckily I have some knowledge of the education sector, but it must be an absolute minefield to think, where do I go for this? Where do I go for that? And do I even know about UCAS, NCS, DWP, and so forth? Joe, if we can move on, please. So bright, colourful series of tabs. Joe, if we can move to the next slide. That enable people of all ages now, because we've done a lot of updating to this in November, in order to make sure that we keep providing the latest information. And the good news is, rather than having to go to lots of different websites or lots of different tools, it's all embedded. So there are YouTube videos in here from the Department for Education. There are advice tools from the National Careers Service. Someone has just posted a question, Nino, about whether this is app-based or we have an online presence. We do, actually. We've developed a website. That was a request from, in fact, students in Rotherham. And that website is in development. I'll make sure the links are shared around, but you can access it now. We're updating it. And the most important thing here, I think, is the commitment of Manor to keeping this current. I think we all recognize in these hard times that it's important that we have additional resources. There is no way this is going to replace that personal advice and guidance, that individual support. But I think it could help parents, carers, educators, young people, older people perhaps returning to work, who've perhaps lost their jobs, who are thinking about changes in career direction, to really explore options in a very safe way, because it's all very independent and not commercially orientated. Joe, if we can move to the next slide. Very importantly, as part of that commitment to updating, you will find all routes into education on here, including the new T levels. They are all listed. Each has its own color and each has the same sizing and apportionment of information. We're not trying to push any particular route or option, but to make sure that they're all in one place. In the next month, you can expect to see a new tool, an employer brokerage tool, which is where we are linking the apprenticeship vacancies database, which is just being updated by the government, and indeed their own DWP resource hub. So again, just trying to make sure that you can go to one place and make sure that this can give you that at least initial direction, or allow you to search in your own time and those that you support. Kevin has just asked, what is the age the facility support from, please? So the hubs themselves, which we hope will open later this year, early next year, will focus on about 160 days of the year within the academic year, providing between 9:30 and 3 o'clock to secondary age school children. And that's based on the legislative duty. But of course, in providing the revenue funding for 2 years, we're also very committed to projects for primary school. And there is ample opportunity through evening, weekend, and the other half of the year, obviously spread throughout the year, to support adults. In the West Midlands, they want to run digital boot camps in the evening, Children's University on a Saturday. I think there are options to do exactly what's required. And very importantly, Manor's not looking to direct on this. It's about what's already in the region, where are the gaps, either in capacity or scope, and how can we support those? John has rightly asked, what's the strategy after 2 years of funding? Well, the short answer is very different in different areas. In the West Midlands, as a combined authority with devolved powers under the mayor, they are talking about a scheme that will be supported by the combined authority that would draw down some national funds. There are other regions where they're talking about a collective cooperative movement, which involves using what would have been widening participation funds for access to university and a coordinated budget across the local authorities. In many cases, with these involve 4 LEPs, 12 local authorities, when you look at the coverage they're providing. But I think most importantly, we're also making sure that government authorities are aware of this. We're working closely with the Careers and Enterprise Company and with DFE officials to make sure they understand what we're doing. We are putting together a national panel to evaluate the impact of this work, working with each region, so that we can then advocate to the government that they sustain them long term. But I do stress that there are absolutely no liabilities or commitments that we're asking for from local officers, local schools or colleges. in these first 2 years. This is about proving concept, and we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. Joe, if we can just move to the last slide. I thought you may want to see what one of these looks like in a sort of plan view. This is the site in Rotherham, and what you'll notice from this particular drawing is the T-shaped building is a large 2-story building. That doesn't change, but we don't just buy the plot of land to put the building on. We make sure that there's lots of green, and we're showcasing biofuels and energy and making sure that these are bright, light, beautiful environments that also showcase renewables and green technology, and indeed the way they're built. And in Rotherham, they're going to use drones to help us track the progress of the build and provide projects to the schools to support that program. I'm very aware of time. I know we have run out of time, and welcome the comment, Amanda, about building one in Poole. If it ain't broke, we don't want to fix it. We want to put these where they're going to be needed and valued and used. So that's what we're looking for, enthusiasts who will work with us. I hope you will log in and research and share with your students, with those that you look after, your children, the Qdos Careers app. Joe, if we can just put up the last slide, that's our contact details. And you've got the website there at the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. That was brilliant. And we have got a couple of minutes, so if anyone has got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I'm not going to rush to close this with there being so many people in here. So yeah, any questions anyone's got, please do pop them in the chat. Or Ruth has got an expo booth that is open, which has got a great video that goes into a little bit more depth as well, and some links on there too. So I will leave you here. But thank you very much, Ruth. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. Ian, we are looking at the northeast as we speak. Thank you. No separate send facility, Kevin, but very much designed with send in mind, full accessibility throughout the facility, far more integrated. The furniture, everything, the access to the tablets, everything's been thought about to make sure that this is fully integrated. We've certainly taken send into account as well with the outdoor space, and indeed built into the revenue funding is transport of learners to and from school. John, I'm taking down your email address as we speak for Lincolnshire. Thank you. Okay, well, I think the questions have finished. Thank you very much. And please do check out our website, have a look at the Qdos Careers app. And any questions, please do email me. My details are in the booth. Thank you. Bye-bye.